Good morning and welcome to the MIT Enterprise Forum of Greece. It's really an honor to be here, and I'd like to give a special thank you to Vasily and his wife Olga. Vasily has really taken on the lion's share of the work with his team. He hates being called out like this, but I think it's something that we should all recognize. And he has 3 children and hasn't been able to spend as much of his free time with them. So thank you to Vasily, and a big thank you to Olga. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the MIT Enterprise Forum Global. You've heard a bit about Greece. We were founded in 1978. We're a global entrepreneurial support organization that was originally founded in the Alumni Association. We have 27 chapters across the world, of which 17 are in the major markets in the United States. And we serve to we have 80,000 technology entrepreneurs across the world, entrepreneurs, innovators, thought leaders, industry experts that are all interested in being actively engaged in growing a vibrant global innovation community. So we serve to serve the technology entrepreneur and network them together. So we function in a variety of ways to mentor and inform company founders, to connect them with one another and effectively strengthen the technology and business clusters, and by therefore helping build the innovation economy. And how do we do that? Well, we have a variety of programs and events, formats that we use, from content-driven events like today to networking events. And we even have as far as training workshops for startup technology entrepreneurs, and in some of our larger chapters and older, more established chapters across the world, like the Pan-Arab region, Japan, and even Pakistan, we have roaring large business plan competitions as a way to bring people together. So this is really to touch a bit on our previous speaker about what is it about MIT that makes it so special and unique as it pertains to entrepreneurship. And some of our professors in the past have referred to it as there's an entrepreneurial DNA at MIT. And I think it comes back to the MIT seal, which is the mens at menas, the motto of learning and then doing. So it's not just about the learning and the research, but it is equally important for the research to actually have an impact on the world. And this is a combination of this learning and doing that has been part of MIT since its founding in 1861, which is really referred to sort of almost the DNA of entrepreneurship. Just 3 quick short reflections about the development of innovation ecosystems in terms of how I've learned from my mentors at MIT. The first thing is it takes time. Of course, in some of our emerging markets, the technologies are leapfrogging, but it takes time. It's been built over generations, entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystems. And tech entrepreneurship needs to be a foundation skill in order to have a tech-based innovation ecosystem. And it is a collaborative process, and by that I don't mean sort of the warm and fuzzy collaboration and being buddies. It takes the involvement, the active, aggressive and deliberate involvement of many bodies and organizations in order for it to work. So to talk to the point of tech entrepreneurship being the foundation, at Sloan School, they teach that innovation equals invention plus commercialization. So while invention will solve an important problem, and we promote a culture of trial and error, experimentation is important, but it's not only the technology and science. You need to be able to commercialize it in order to scale it up and make it widely available to everyone. And for that, you need entrepreneurship. And what does that mean? That means you need a set of skills, you need to have industry knowledge, you need to have mentors, you need to practice, you need to fail, and you need a network. And it's a collaborative process. I cannot stress this point enough. Wherever we've traveled in the world, we've noticed that where there aren't where there isn't government to industry or industry to industry or industry to SME collaborations, they're struggling with their innovation economy. So this is, again, not a soft approach. You need all of these elements to work together very, very closely to have really an innovative ecosystem. This is just a quick example of some of the MIT ecosystem industry verticals, should I say, that we have by functional focus. So you'll see there's the MIT Enterprise Forum and Technology Review. We also have the Technology Licensing Office. We have Lemelson, which is the Lemelson MIT Awards honors both established and rising inventors for their ingenuity, creativity, and contribution. So that's really a celebration. The Deshpande Center does many of these functions. They were established in 2002 by a very generous grant from Guru Rush Deshpande, who's a natural philanthropist. And this empowers some of MIT's most talented researchers to make a difference in the world by developing innovative technologies right out of the labs from MIT and then actively commercializing those. You'll see the MIT Enterprise Forum does a little bit of everything, and Technology Review, the organization by which we are managed right now, which is MIT's independent global media company, does a lot of celebrating, informing, as well as networking. Just a quick overview, and you're welcome to have these slides, of the different stages of entrepreneurship and where each of these formal programs fit in and really fulfill those needs, from stage 1, which is crazy idea, all the way up to high growth and IPO. So in summary, we need the infrastructure for entrepreneurs is we need courses and groups. You need all of these elements, and you need an entrepreneurial environment in order to make this happen. I have to point out at MIT we're not a centrally planned system. This took generations to build, so we tend to have formal groups, we tend to have informal groups founded by students. Some prosper, some fail. That's par for the course. Some groups stay forever, some groups stay for a little while, do what they need to do, and then they go on their separate ways. So here's a couple of our more formalized groups. The Sloan School of Management, our Industrial Liaison Program, which connects industry to research at MIT, and then of course our licensing office, which has over 600 inventions a year. These are some of our award programs. I mentioned already the Deshpande Center, and I think one of our most remarkable programs was developed by students, which is the MIT 100K program, almost 20 years, and we have over 160 entries every year. I think the most interesting thing about that is that we have a lot of Harvard applications from down the road applying for it. So again, very much collaboration, university to university collaboration, also an important part to build your innovation ecosystem. So one of the most important things I have learned about entrepreneurial ecosystem, and the best example I can use to describe it, which is credit to Joe Hadzima, who's a senior lecturer at the Sloan School of Management, is that people will come and visit us at MIT and they'll say, how can you do this? How do we do this over there? And I think the most important lesson to learn is you don't want to copy programs. You want to first look and see what your local ecosystem needs. So copying programs is not going to it's not necessarily transportable. So the most common example is the penguin will do well in the Antarctic, but it's not going to do terribly well in a rainforest. So I think that's the lesson. So what are the ingredients? So it's been explained as a biological ecosystem. We need oxygen, food, and water to have an ecosystem. So very simply speaking, we need knowledge, academic and practical. We need role models. You really need to feel confident. You need to see other people in your local environment doing it. It doesn't just help looking outside of your country. You need to see people doing it in your local environment, and that gives other people the confidence to know that they can do it, and to show how it can be done. And you need to be able to effectively match up these skills and resources. But there are two other issues that I think that we also need to really, really look at, and that is failure and money. So people have a natural tendency to fear failure, and that's probably the most hardest thing to work with. But it is essential. And in some societies, you don't get a second chance. But in Silicon Valley and in Kendall Square, for example, you'll probably not get funded if you haven't failed at least once. So failure is an essential part of this. And it's very, very simple. If looking at the Thomas Edison quote, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." The point here is that what if we could reduce the cost of failure? And vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystems try to do that. Money is another thing. So the lack of startup or growth capital, many entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs at MIT are like, "Oh, well, I can't really do this because I don't have any money." And I think that money is important. It is the fuel that will power the automobile, but without a good engine, you won't get anywhere. You will not have success. So the point here is that money will flow to where opportunity exists. And this is a global truth that transcends geopolitical borders, unless, of course, there are artificial constraints put in place, such as currency controls. But the point is that, and then, of course, these constraints will reduce the opportunity and hence decrease the flow of capital. So our focus should always be on how we can create opportunity to make that pie bigger. And of course, government does play a role. They help create the right economic environment, the right climate. They try to reduce bureaucratic barriers. For example, there was a recent law in the US to reduce burden on fundraising and public market offerings for small companies, and they need to help provide a stable infrastructure. So that's my point on money. A quick reflection, really, in summary, as you move forward, is you need to focus on ecosystems, not on copying programs. Money will flow to where opportunity exists, so we want to create opportunity to make that pie bigger. We do not fear failure, except that we need to experiment and that some things will fly and others will not, and we pick ourselves up by the bootstraps and we move on. And then we need to accept that it will take a little bit of time in some instances, and that it didn't form in a year or two, but it took generations to form. And finally, that collaboration is absolutely essential for a vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem. Thank you very much.